this morning, and most of it was centered about the situation in Iran. And then he took some questions, and they were mostly centered around the situation in Iran. So I have the latest breaking updates from the president himself. He started out giving some statements, and he addressed this idea that was sort of the latest talking point for the last 72 hours from the people who are trying to attempt some criticism here, because it's really hard to criticize what he's doing in Iran. You know, oh no, he took out the Ayatollah. That's horrible. No, that's not bad. Oh no, the world's leading state sponsor of terror has been diminished. Oh no, we diminished their military capabilities, all this other stuff. I mean, the negatives are obvious. We've lost 15 Americans. That's terrible. What, $11 billion is spent. All right, I'm a fiscal hawk. That's definitely on the negative side of the column. But if that's all you got, it's not going to do a whole lot. So there's this new tack that this idiot Trump didn't even know has no idea what he's doing. He didn't even think about Iran blocking the Straits of Hormuz. Really? I mean, is that believable? Even if you think Donald Trump is that dumb, which there's almost no chance he is that dumb. All of us knew about the Straits of Hormuz before the bombing. He knew about it when it happened last year. You knew about the Straits of Hormuz. I'm sure you could go find some people out on the sidewalk that don't know where the Straits of Hormuz or can recognize its importance. But even if Donald Trump is that dumb, you don't think there's one person in his cabinet, you don't think there's one person in the Joint Chiefs of Staff or in anywhere in his military commanders, you think how many four-star generals do we have now? Like all 40 four-star generals. None of them have any clue about the Straits of Hormuz and spoke up. You didn't think when they were laying out the plans and when he's asking what his options are, the Straits of Hormuz ever came up. It's not believable. But it kept getting repeated and over over the weekend. And that's one of the first things he addressed at his written statements this morning.
If we ever needed help, they won't be there for us. I've just known that for a long period of time. Just like I knew about the Strait, that it would be a weapon, which I predicted a long time ago, predicted all of this stuff. You guys were very generous in that. I predicted all of it. I predicted Osama bin Laden would knock out the World Trade Center. I made that prediction a year before he did it. I said, you better get him. He's a bad guy. I watched him be interviewed one time, and I said, that's a bad guy. You better get him. 1 year before, exactly. I wrote it in a book. You can even check. About a year before the World Trade Center came down, President Clinton actually had a shot at him, and he didn't take it. Unfortunately, I'm not blaming him for that, but he didn't take it. And he ended up knocking down the World Trade Center, but I predicted that too. I predicted a lot of things. We strongly encourage other nations whose economies depend on the Strait for blood. I mean, you know, these people literally need it. 95% of their energy or their oil comes out of the Strait, and they should be in here very happily helping us.
So if you believe that, oh, he didn't think about the Straits of Hormuz or he didn't have a plan for the Straits of Hormuz, you should really just back off and check out not only the validity of what you're saying, but how ridiculous it is that could even be true. Another thing he brought up is oil companies and other countries should be a little less scared and timid about helping out and going through the Straits of Hormuz and cooperating with the United States, because Iran has shown itself to be a paper tiger. Iran has threatened, well, if you strike back, you're really going to regret it. Do you regret it? I don't regret it. So far, the negative consequences is gas is 50 cents higher than it was before the strikes, or depending on where you're at, maybe $1 higher. Okay, I got it, and that's not my preference, but that's not the hellscape Iran was promising. And how many ships have been sunk in the Straits of Hormuz trying to go through? I mean, I don't know. Is it zero? Has any oil tanker been lost yet? So right now, it seems to be the bigger impediment to going through the Straits of Hormuz is being able to secure the insurance for it rather than Iran itself.
There's a lot of oil under that land. We strongly encourage the other nations to get involved with us and get involved quickly and with great enthusiasm. I have that from a number of them, and I'd like to say their names, but frankly, I don't know if they would want me to or not, because maybe they don't want to be targeted. But I say Wouldn't matter if you're targeted or not, because this is a paper tiger that we're dealing with now. It wasn't a paper tiger 2 weeks ago. It's a paper tiger now. So now we're going to get down to the reason. We'll take a couple of questions in a moment, but we're going to get down to the reason we're here today.
Okay, so we're going to skip ahead to the question part because that actually doesn't happen for another 40 minutes. But I watched all this this morning for you. And here's the other part I think you would think is interesting. Who are you negotiating with over there? It's really tough because all the leaders are dead, and they appointed some new leaders, and those leaders are dead. And now we're down to like Ayatollah Jr., and I think Jr. got his leg blown off. We'll get to that in a second.
And we always talk. When, somebody said, well, would you talk? Why would you even talk to him? I talk to everybody because sometimes good things come out of it. But I don't know if they're ready yet. They're taking a pounding. I don't know if they're ready yet. And we don't even know their leaders. Look, all of their leaders are dead, as far as we know. But they're all dead. We don't know who we're dealing with. We knocked out the first group. Then the second group met, 88 met to pick the leader because the first group was all dead. And the second group got knocked out. They're all dead. Then the third group met. I would think they're a little nervous about meeting. I don't know if they're nervous. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're crazy. If they're not nervous, then they're crazy.
And then the next question, we get to the part where Ayatollah Jr. may have lost his leg. This is the first I'm hearing of this, but Peter Doocy for Fox News was asking the question here.
Thanks, President Trump. What are your advisors telling you about the Ayatollah's son, the new supreme leader? What are they telling you about him?
Well, it's not only them, it's you people. I mean, a lot of people are saying that he's badly disfigured. They're saying that he lost his leg, the one leg, and he's been hurt very badly. Other people are saying he's dead. Nobody's saying he's 100% healthy. And he hasn't spoken because the Ayatollah would sit and he'd spew hate from a form of a throne. Not as nice as a throne. I like the English throne much better. But it was a fancy chair. But he'd spew hate from his chair. But you'd see him a lot, right? This one, we haven't seen at all. So that could be for a lot of different reasons. We don't know, Peter, if he's dead or not.
So that's the latest update from Trump's press availability and statements this morning. Coming up next, you're going to hear from Casey Fleming. He is with the CEO of Black Ops Partners and a retired vet, and see what he thinks. Is the Straits of Hormuz really a hot zone, or are people being timid for very little concern? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, sports fans, James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. And Prize Picks does these little promotional events that make it real easy to win. Just like for an example, they're special on the app right now. Jalen Johnson needs just 0.5 points during the game, the Hawks versus the Magic tonight. That's all you got to do. Open the app, put him on your lineup. I would pick more rather than less on that one. As long as this guy gets one, if he just makes one free throw, you get that square. And on Prize Picks, you have a lineup of 2 to 6 players. You just pick a stat more or less on them. And it looks like you're halfway there if you just want to go take advantage of the max discount square live in the app right now. But you can also mix and match your sports. You could have your lineup be one guy's playing basketball, another guy's playing hockey. You can share your picks now on social media, or you can follow other people and do the picks that they do. And so if you find a guy that's on a winning streak, you can just ride his coattails and enjoy the fun yourself. You can stack up your lineup where you can use the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. And if you're getting ahead during the game and you want to take an early payout, that's now offered too. They can't make it easier to win over at Prize Picks, but I can start you with a little bonus. Download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP, and you get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP, get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So we about to wrap this Iran war up soon, or what? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. The big concern I have right now is troops are being sent to the area. I do not want boots on the ground. I think most Americans don't want boots on the ground. Is this just another bargaining chip, or are we about to see boots on the ground? Let's ask someone who has a little more expertise in military affairs than yours truly. Casey Fleming's coming back on the James Show. Welcome, Casey Fleming, CEO of Black Ops Partners.
Thanks for having me.
What's the likelihood that these troops that are headed to the Middle East will actually end up being boots on the ground?
Well, we're hoping it's just for show and for positioning right now to show a little bit of strength. What we also hope to see is if there definitely needs to be boots on the ground. We hope those are Israeli boots because it's very difficult to root out terrorists once you decapitate the leadership, which we've done. But the rest of these radicals, remember, they have nothing to live for and everything to die for. So that's one, that they have to be rooted out on the ground. And then secondly, for us back in the States, we need to keep our head on a swivel because these sleeper cells are certainly active and something we need to be watching out for.
Well, I try and test myself with, my opinion on these things. And, is there any scenario in which I would be okay with boots on the ground? And the only, I think I found one exception here, Casey Fleming. There's the talk of Karg Island. It is the island right off the coast that is the main oil depot. It's pretty much the only big oil depot for Iran. And it's how they get 96% of their oil out of the country for exports. And the thought process, well, we could either blow that up and just end all the oil exports, or we could occupy it and just turn it off. That way, when the regime changes, we can turn it right back on, and the Iranian people will have a revenue source to rebuild their country. So what do you think about that? That's sort of the James exception to the rule here of occupying just Karg Island. Could that be enough?
Well, we know that that's planned as well, and you're absolutely right. 96% of the oil does export out of that island, and that if we blow it up, then we're absolutely killing the Iranian economy for the next 5 years. So yes, that is certainly the plan, is also to maybe put boots on the ground. We hope those will also be joint troops with Israelis to be on Karg Island, but that's exactly the point, maybe to shutter it until we can get control over the rest of the country. But again, the rest of the country needs to step up and also root out these terrorists and put in a leadership organization that's friendly to the people and to the rest of the free world. But the problem with boots on the ground is it never stays with just boots on the ground. It always it always moves forward. It always grows. And then, of course, the American people don't like to see fatalities. So it's definitely a quagmire, but it's something that's definitely on the drawing board.
We're talking with Casey Fleming. He's our guest from Black Ops Partners. Now, the Straits of Hormuz are getting a whole lot of attention right now, but have we even lost any ships in the Persian Gulf? Has anything even been sunk in the Straits of Hormuz besides, Iranian Navy boats?
There's a dozen ships that are set ablaze. They've taken hits. None that are military from our analysis, but they're all oil tankers up and down, before, during, and after the Strait of Hormuz. So they've taken hits, and those are from, and remember, these guys have fast, rapid UAV boats, UAV drones that they can launch from the shore, but also these boats and also jet skis that they have that are loaded with explosives. So it's a terrorist regime, and you can see the way that they're acting. Yeah, they've been attacked by the United States and Israel, but you can see that they're attacking other people. So let that sink in. If they did have a nuclear weapon, they would not be, they would have no trouble using it.
So tell me about these boats that were set on fire, that were put ablaze. Are we talking about third-party, non-military commercial boats?
Oh, they're tankers. They're oil tanks.
Oh, okay. That's worst case scenario then.
Yeah, it is. And that's the reason Trump is trying to get other nations to come in and provide escorts and cover to these ships so they can transit the Strait of Hormuz. Most of them are saying no. They don't want to be drug into this thing because it could go to the next level of a war, which is boots on the ground and more of a ground incursion. And that's something nobody wants to see. The American people don't want to see it. We just want to liberate the regime and liberate the country, get rid of the regime, and put a new friendly at the top of the country. But the country has to feel safe. They've been threatened within an inch of their lives that if they're caught in the streets supporting freedom or supporting the United States or Israel, that they will be killed. So that's got to subside before they feel comfortable, putting in a new regime. Like I said, that it's based on freedom and supporting the Iranian people.
What's your opinion or your take on the rumor that the Ayatollah Jr. may have lost a leg or may have died or may not be presentable in public?
We're hearing pretty strong intel on that there's something that he's not able to show himself, whether it's partial or full or whatever it is, but he's not ready for prime time, and that's what we're hearing.
All right. Casey Fleming, how do we find your great work online, sir?
Twitter, T. Casey Fleming, and I'm sorry, X, T. Casey Fleming, LinkedIn, and blackopspartners.com. Also, the book is The Red Tsunami. All roads, by the way, Iran, all roads lead back to the Chinese Communist Party. You can't just look at Iran. You've got to look at the Chinese Communist Party.
Right. It makes sense. So, we take out Venezuela, we take out Iran, and then who has a chokehold on China after that? All right. Thank you very much, Casey Fleming. I love it when you're on the show. Appreciate it, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about the aspect that affects you the most right now in the Iran war, the price of gas. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Are you getting hurt by the price of gas? I'm James Parker. This is The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So when I was coming in from Bug Tussle this morning, I did my regular stop at Buc-ee's. That's what you have to do. And coming in from Bug Tussle, I paid $3.39.9. Can we stop with the 0.9 cents? We don't do that for anything else. In fact, we're getting rid of pennies. Can we get rid of tenths of pennies? How dumb is this? But I paid, let's just call it what it is, $3.40. Now, that's quite a bit more than I was paying a couple months ago. In fact, I remember the low. There was, over the Christmas break, there's a grocery store out in Bug Tussle that has gas pumps out front. And I don't know what day it was, December 26th, December 27th. I just remember when it was during the break because my kids were with me. And it was the middle of the day. It was $1.99. 0.9, so I guess it was $2. So, I mean, we haven't quite doubled it, but we're more than 50% higher than we were just, 2-3 months ago? So, yeah, there's been a little bit of a spike. Now, if you will recall, the price of gas under Joe Biden peaked at the national average of $5.02. So, a lot of people are showing the obvious back and forth here where there's so much concern about the price of gas now. What were these same people saying when gas was even higher just 3 years ago? Well, you know, the Audiotron 3000 never forgets. First, let's load it up with the discussion as it's happening today. In Trump's statements earlier, one of the second to last question was about gas prices, and this was his response.
Have your advisors told you anything in terms of how long we can expect gas prices as high as they are right now?
I don't need advisors to tell me that. I know what it is. You know, the Prime Minister of UK, United Kingdom, yesterday told me, I'm meeting with my team to make a determination. I said, you don't need to meet it with the team. You're the prime minister. You can make your own. Why do you have to meet with your team to find out whether or not you're going to send some minesweepers to us or to send some boats? I said, you don't have to meet with your team. It's the same thing here. I can tell you that when this is over, oil prices are going to go down very, very rapidly.
Well, now that I buy. If this ends and it ends in a way that is kind of what you and I want, a regime that is more amenable to the Western civilization than the current Ayatollah theocracy, well, then we have the potential of the United States is producing more oil and gas than we ever had before. If Russia could get their head out of their behind with all the Ukrainian conflict and get all of their attention back online, coupled with the largest proven oil reserves in Venezuela, once we get that back online, and a friendly Iran, then absolutely, that seems like almost gas price nirvana. However, you go look at what's happening in the popular conscience, and we have Saturday Night Live opened their episode on Saturday. The cold open was a skit on gas prices, making fun of Trump. First, they show a family that's at the gas station, and at the very end, you'll hear Trump come in. But this is how they opened.
Anyone has to use the bathroom, do it now. We've got another 2 hours before we get to Grandma's. I'm just going to fill up the tank.
Fill up? Not all the way, though, right?
We have to.
But it's $5 a gallon.
I said we have to.
Kids, we're going to have to leave one of you behind.
What? Why?
Gas prices, darling.
Dad, why does gas cost so much?
The Epstein files.
The Epstein files. And look, there's comedy to be had in high gas prices, I guess, if you really want to stretch. The thing that the Twitter sphere has been pointing out immediately, one of the first comments you'll see under this in X and most of the posts is, hey, Grok, did Saturday Night Live ever mock gas prices being too high under Biden? And so from 2021 to 2025, Grok looked through. And he said during the 2022 peak where gas was above $5 a gallon, no cold opens, no monologues, no bits targeted Biden. on high gas prices. Now, there was some jokes on high gas prices, but they were blaming the markets or the oil companies or other external factors. So someone else asked, well, Grok, did Saturday Night Live ever mock gas prices for being too high under Obama? And so during Obama's peak, where gas was above $4 a gallon, still higher than it is now. No cold opens, no monologues, no weekend update segments targeting the administration. They did have blame for high gas prices, but it went to, again, the evil, greedy oil companies and other external factors. So they've done the exact opposite with Trump spikes. Coming up next, you're going to hear, I can't play you the audio of where they didn't mock Biden or Obama for gas prices, but I can play you Stephen Colbert and his jokes about high gas prices under Biden. And you might wreck your car. Just stick around for about 4 more minutes. It is that bad. 800-288-9227. If gas prices are hurting you, I'd love to hear from you. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Yeah, the price of gas is a little higher than it was. Is it going to last long? Could. I have no crystal ball. I hope it doesn't. I can see where this could all go down immediately after we get some good news in the next week or two. I can see how this would be prolonged and kind of plateau right here. I can see how it would go up more. And I like the going down scenario the best. So I hope we wrap this whole thing up. However, be really skeptical of the people who are critical right now. Oh, this price of gas is high. Okay. Was it a bad thing when the price of gas was even higher? Like the national average was more than $1 high. Was it more than $1 above where it is now under Biden in 2022? Because there was a spike up. Do you remember the spike up? It was during the beginning of the Russia-Ukraine war. And then when we got involved and we were threatening to cut off the Nord Stream pipeline and someone blew it up. Turns out it was us, but we blame Putin. Let's go back here because I have the Audiotron 3000. If you go back in history, I just played you in the last segment how Saturday Night Live was making fun of Trump specifically for gas prices. We're going to have to give up one of our kids just to fill up our car. Oh, really? So when it was even higher under the previous guy, no SNL skits, but I can give you what the comedy world, air quotes, comedy world was doing then. So we go to Stephen Colbert. He says, yeah, gas, the national average, when it was $5.02 a gallon for the national average. He was saying that was just he's willing to pay more for gas, to have a clear conscience.
That stings, but a clean conscience is worth $1 or $2. I'm willing to pay. It's important. It's important.
It's important.
I'm willing to pay $4 a gallon. Hell, I'll pay $15 a gallon.
Yeah, hell, I'll pay even more than this for a clean conscience just to do the right thing. Well, if you've already determined that you're not going to criticize the guy no matter what happens, it just sounds ridiculous to circle back. And now that gas, granted, it has gone up. It's higher than it was a couple months ago. That's for sure. It's higher than it was before the Iran war. That's for sure. But why aren't you willing to pay more here? Is this not doing the right thing? No, I'd rather the Ayatollahs be alive. I'd rather women live as second-class citizens under constant harassment and punishment and with their rights restricted and they can't go outside and have fun without a hijab on or the morality police is going to come thump them. Yeah, no. It's just the right thing to do, y'all. And it's interesting to see how sometimes Saturday Night Live tries to make fun of people and they end up making them look cooler. Like, that's been my experience here with Saturday Night Live and their attempt to make fun of Pete Hegseth. Because when Colin Jost comes out and plays Pete Hegseth, he tries to make him sound like a dumb meathead. But it actually kind of sounds cool, right? It kind of sounds like someone that you're not making fun of him. You're kind of glorifying him like, he's so awesome. So here is Saturday Night Live making fun of Pete Hegseth around the gas prices.
The president called me here today to give you news on the war. Okay, so listen up. The news is we won. Hashtag winning. So you can stop asking me all about it, okay? Don't even worry about it. Forget about it. The real problem is all you gaybies, gay babies, copyright. All you gaybies in the media are completely unpatriotic. Okay? They're using what I do and say to make me look like a fool.
Been there. I've been there before, partner.
I see, because they're fools. And no, you can't copyright Gaby's SNL because that was Sacha Baron Cohen's character Bruno that did that. Remember the Bruno movie? Wasn't it just called Bruno? God, that was funny. Let's go to a right-wing comedian, Ben Bankus. His thoughts on the Iran war and Venezuela and oil and all that. Tell me which one you think's funnier.
But it's an amazing moment right now because it does feel like, between me and you guys, this is just me thinking out loud, but we took the Venezuelan oil in advance of the Iran thing because their whole thing's like, we'll cut off the oil, and now we're like, it's okay. Go ahead. And so we got enough oil and then, we blow them up, and then they retaliated by attacking other Muslim countries. And now the Jews in America are protecting the Muslims from the more retarded Muslims. So really what I'm saying is we need to send Ilhan Omar back to her country. And
See, the obvious non sequitur there, but there was actually like a little bit of intelligence there in there, linking the situation with knocking over Venezuela before we dealt with Iran, and that allowed us to not be hurt as bad by the Iran threats to pull back the oil supply. So there was like some real, actual truthful humor in there. Nice job, Ben Bankus. Hey, coming up, the next Parker's Pours is happening this Thursday, y'all, and we're going to be back at the Whiskey and Rye Hotel, or Whiskey and Rye and the Omni Fort Worth Hotel. And it's the same thing we did the last couple of months. We're going to go out there at 2 o'clock. We're going to do a live James show from 2 to 5. And then we're going to hang out afterwards, have a little happy hour action. And we're going to do 2 rounds of trivia. 1 round at 5:30, 1 round at 6:30. I have prizes for both rounds and a grand prize. And everybody's eligible to win except for Jason, because he won it last time. He won all 3 prizes. So you get a 90-day reprieve, Jason. So come on out there. Jason will play, but you don't have to worry about his score. And we'll have a good time. All the questions are written by me. So come on out. It'll be a good time. Anytime you want to come out between 2 to 7 o'clock, the Omni Fort Worth Hotel, I'll be there at the Whiskey and Rye Bar. I would love to meet you. Coming up next on The James Show, do you realize how close we were to another Muslim terror attack in Texas last week? Find out next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Did we almost have 3 terror attacks in one day? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. You're listening to The James Show. And you remember last week when there was the guy who ran his car into the synagogue in Michigan, got out with a rifle, but he didn't really make it that far before the security team got him? Well, on the same day, why do I sound so hot? On the same day, there was a guy a Muslim terrorist, another one, who went and shot up Old Dominion University. Now, was there another attempted terror attack on the same day in Houston? Well, we get the report from James Show regular Kaylee Campbell off Instagram.
So yesterday at Swink Elementary School, which is located in Klein, Texas, and a part of Klein ISD, a Muslim man snuck into this elementary school wearing tactical gear and also armed. Now, thankfully, the school security did catch him before he could harm anybody, but I found it quite funny that when you go to look up this incident, they are calling him Kyle Chris. But do you want to know what his real name is? Now, forgive me for how this is about to sound, but his real name is Muhi Mohanad Najam, and he's a 39-year-old Muslim man who also lives in Klein, Texas. Now, some articles that you do go read, you'll see that they included his middle name, but some just leave it out, therefore implying that his name is just Kyle Chris. Which, yes, will get lost in translation because most people will claim that this is a white man. But does this look like a white man to you? Does this look like a man named Kyle to you? I also want to point out the fact that the last 2 terrorist attacks that have occurred in Michigan and Virginia, both of the terrorists were also named Muhammad. Why are they all named after the pedophile that they worship? Anyways, I think they're trying to hide this story because nobody wants to admit that this Muslim man snuck into an elementary school and could have honestly hurt a lot of children that day if the school security had not stopped him. But don't be shocked because this is just one of many, and it's only been like 3 weeks and we've had a handful of terrorist attacks since the Iranian war started, and I can guarantee there's going to be a handful of more. So if you're out in public, keep your head on a swivel, carry if you can, and just keep your eyes out for people like this.
And now joining us on the phone is the woman who just brought you that report. Kaylee Campbell's back on the James Show. Kaylee, where did the Kyle Chris name come from?
Well, I've seen a lot of comments of people saying that it's just a play on words for Chris Kyle, and a lot of people know who Chris Kyle is. And I don't know, I tried to look up to see if it was like the English translation to whatever his, Arab name was and whatnot, but I think it's just a fake name that he goes by, for being honest.
Yeah, for those of you who don't get the reference, Chris Kyle is the American Sniper. He wrote the book, and then they made a movie about him, played by Bradley Cooper. Good book, by the way. So do we think that this was a terror attack? Does he have a kid there, and maybe he was visiting the kid? Or because if he doesn't have a kid there, then clearly this was a terror attack.
I don't think he had a kid there. From some of the articles, it says that there was a door unlocked, and that's how he got in. Now, there are different reports that do say that, one, the school security got him, and the others say that he was arrested the next day. But I don't think he had any kids there to begin with, and why was he showing up in tactical gear and armed if he was, quote-unquote, visiting his kid?
Yeah, I saw the written statement from Klein. They said that someone was leaving and he caught the door before it closed all the way. So he got into the first locked door, but there's a little, kind of arbitrage there where there's a second locked door. And so he was in the lobby area, which they have that at one of my kids' schools too, like 2 locked doors. And so you can get in and you could talk to the school secretary, but you have to get buzzed to get past that. So it looks like, if there's no kids there, then what else could he possibly be doing there? Now, I say that's half facetiously, but maybe he's just there to hand out hijabs and Qurans like they did at Wiley East.
Yeah, I was going to say, I forgot to mention that in the video, that this would be the second known time of Muslims sneaking into a school and attempting to do something.
Well, Kaylee Campbell, we have no idea where that name came from. Why are they using it? Why aren't they saying his real name? Why aren't they throwing Muhammad out there?
I think it's mainly because of everything happening recently. If it's coming from majority liberal or left-leaning medias, then they don't want to, quote-unquote, incite violence, even though that's quite literally what the story's about. So I think that they just want to make it a huge cover up and not bring attention to it, of course.
Well, Kyle Chris, that sounds like a painfully white name, and not even like an austere white name, like a white trash kind of name. It's not like Graham Wellington. This sounds like a guy who drinks a lot of Monster and maybe punches drywall when he gets mad. So I don't appreciate that.
Yeah, it's pretty basic. Like they literally chose like the main two whitest names that they could pick.
Right, except for maybe Rusty. I've never met a black fella named Rusty. I think that might be the whitest male name possible. Kaylee,
Yeah.
This makes me think, like, what else are they just sort of glossing over and not telling us? And that's one of the reasons I follow accounts like yours is because you and Sarah Gonzalez and Mark and Chris and y'all all are picking up these stories that the rest of the media drops. What else do we not know from last week?
Well, oh gosh. I mean, there's still a lot. I've heard rumors, and I'm currently working on stuff based on the F1 and OPT program for visa students. There's a lot of fraud going on there. We've got more mosques being built. A while back, I did make a video about the massive city that's being built in Kaufman, and when everybody found out about that meeting, they canceled that. But I heard rumors today that the meeting got rescheduled to this Wednesday. So a lot of things that still need to be pieced together. Yeah.
Oh, that's why I ask. All right. Well, are you going to go to the meeting on Wednesday or just watch it online?
I'll have to check what date that is. I do plan on going to the Frisco City Council meeting, but there's a lot going on. So maybe if I can get into it, we'll see. I don't know if it's closed or not.
All right. Well, Kaylee, it's going to be a pretty busy week for you because we're having another Whiskey and Rye event, the Parker's Pour, at the Omni Fort Worth Hotel. You're, of course, welcome to come out to that. I'll let you sit in again. But then we got CPAC next week. You have any plans to go to CPAC next week?
Yeah, I actually do want to go to CPAC. I loved it. I went way back like years ago, and I want to go again. So I'll probably swing by there.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing live shows there on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So if you go out, come by the table, say hi. I'll put some headphones on you and make you work.
All right, sweet.
All right, how do they find you online, Kaylee Campbell?
Find me on Instagram at Kaylee Ashlyn, Twitter or X at Kaylee Ashlyn, and then Kaylee Campbell on Facebook.
And congratulations. Did I see you just got engaged?
I did. We were at the Arboretum in Dallas.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, good luck with all that. Lucky guy. That's Kaylee Campbell. Coming up next on The James Show, we're going to check in with our oil and gas expert, R.T. Trevino from the Crude Truth podcast about how the Iranian conflict is affecting your gas prices. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, when's the price of gas going to come back down? Let's find out on the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Your home for Markley Van Camp and Robbins, three funny guys that are on before the James Show. I get the weirdest messages on the break. I turn around and I think we're going to get some special, thoughtful messages about the price of gas or the Iran war or the specter of terror attacks that are happening in Texas. And I've got a wild debate going on about what's the whitest male name out there. Because I said Rusty in the last segment. And then I had someone say Kyle. I had someone say Graham. I had someone say Tanner. I think maybe Tanner. Garrett? No, there's I can think of a black Garrett Morris. He was on Saturday Night Live, yeah. So I can't think of a counter to anyone named Rusty or anyone named Tanner. Cody is a tough one. For a long time, I thought Cody was the whitest male name out there, but I have actually seen the existence of a non-white Cody. And it doesn't have to be a brother. It could be a Mexican. It could be an Asian. It could be whatever. My next guest is not going to talk about the ethnic nature of some naming conventions, but he is our oil and gas expert. It's RT, Ray Trevino from the Crude Truth Podcast and Pecos Country Energy. And Ray, welcome back to the show. When I stopped at Buc-ee's this morning, I paid $3.40 a gallon. How long is this going to last? Andrew? You can't think of one? Okay. Oh, I have no. I have a counterexample for you. Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, which painfully speaking is one of the whitest. It's the second whitest name ever. Colin Kaepernick. There's no brothers that have the last name Kaepernick except for him. The only whiter name cumulative that I've seen is Graham Wellington. I think that is the whitest total name if you count. I know, right? All right, I want to do a worst case scenario and best case scenario with you, RT. Let's start with the best case scenario. Iran picks a decent leader. Turns out Ayatollah Jr. doesn't make it, and they pick someone that's going to be amenable to the Western world, a good player on the world stage, and all of the Iranian oil is coming back online to the world market with no weird exceptions or caveats to it. What does that do to the price of oil and to the price of gas at the pump? Okay, worst. So what is worst case scenario? Straits of Hormuz remain blocked, but I think maybe worst case is if we actually have to bomb and blow up this Karg island where almost 100% of the Iranian oil exports go through. If we blow that up and we don't get a better leader in Iran and they still stay antagonistic to the rest of the world, what's that worst case scenario look like, RT? All right. What do you think the most likely outcome is? I know it's going to be somewhere between those two extremes, but where are we sitting a month from now? What's on the latest Crude Truth podcast, RT? Well, I'd love to invite myself on sometime. However, I have no oil and gas expertise or experience. However, RT, I have bought a lot of gas and put it in my car before. So, yeah, okay, we could do that too. All right, RT Trevino. The Crude Truth is the name of his podcast. His day job is Pecos Country Energy, and you'll hear him on future James shows anytime oil and gas comes up and we need some expertise. Coming up next, Donald Trump just gave a statement from the Oval Office. In fact, he's still talking now, but there's a new anti-fraud task force and he's starting to name names. You'll hear him next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, we just got some interesting comments from Donald Trump. I didn't see this coming, but we'll just pivot for you on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. We looked up on the TV screen while we were doing this in the last segment, and Donald Trump came out to the Oval Office, sat down, J.D. Vance next to him, and started telling the press and the outside world about his new task force, his anti-fraud task force. Let's hear a little bit of this. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So right there, that's the interesting part is when he names names. Well, are you going to do something about it? Because a few minutes later, 8 minutes later, in the same little offering there, he starts taking questions from the press. And look, I like the sound of this, but don't we already have mechanisms by which we root out and prosecute fraud? What were we doing yesterday? Do we need a whole new task force for this, or is this just for media show? Anyway, here's a question, kind of aimed at J.D. Vance.
Sir, two questions.
I think they're going to do it. Go ahead.
First, Mr. Vice President, Democrats are calling you the fraud czar. What's your reaction to that title? And second, given your past skepticism of foreign adventurism, are you completely on board with the current war in Iran?
So I like fraud czar. It's certainly what we're going to do. And look, we have to do it. As the president said, this is a problem that has festered in this country for far too long, and far too few people have actually wanted to do anything about it. That's what makes this administration different, is that we actually tackle the problems the American people have been confronting. So I'm very happy about it. And look, I think that I know what you're trying to do, Phil. You're trying to drive a wedge between members of the administration, between me and the president.
By the way, he's talking to Phil Wegman from Real Clear Politics.
The president said consistently, going back to 2015, and I agreed with him, is that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. We have taken this military action under the president's leadership. I think all of us, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, should pray for its success and pray for the safety of our troops. That's the approach that I've taken. Make it as successful as possible.
So there's no hesitation, given your past statements, with the current operation?
What do you mean there's no hesitation with my past statements?
Given your skepticism of foreign adventurism, you were a critic of the global war on terror previously.
Well, I think one big difference, Phil, is that we have a smart president, whereas in the past we've had dumb presidents. And I trust President Trump to get the job done, to do a good job for the American people, and to make sure that the mistakes of the past aren't repeated. Absolutely.
So that's a tough question coming from Real Clear Politics. And we know Phil Wegman's politics. He's a little right of center. He's not as far on the right-wing branch as most of us would like, but a little stiff questioning there. And here's my skepticism on that. The anti-fraud task force, isn't that Pam Bondi's job? Shouldn't they be looking into this, whether we have a task force or not? Isn't it quite obvious? Do we need a whole new task force? You mean what we saw from Nick Shirley can just go on unabated without a new task force? So look, we've heard about task force in the past. Very rarely do they actually end up with convictions and the result that you want. So I hope this isn't just fanfare for PR's sake. But if they get to the bottom of this, then it'll all be worth it. Just color me skeptical for the time being. All right, to the phones we go. This is Don in Grand Prairie. You're on WBAP. Hey, Don.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call.
Here's the thing. I am an independent voter. I voted for Trump in 16, Biden 20, and then Trump again in 24.
What?
The thing, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll revisit that after your point. Go ahead.
Okay, but my point is, reason I voted on Trump because the economy got bad under Biden, and the thing is that's making me mad about Trump is that he said on day one I will lower energy prices and grocery prices and everything else. My TXU bills have gone up over 15% from a year ago. My Atmos Energy gas per unit, as per my bills, I looked a year ago, what the rate was per cubic unit is 10% higher than it was a year ago.
Your natural gas bill, yeah.
Yep, exactly. And those bills don't lie. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking. Okay, and he said on day one I will lower it. They've gone up, and then he says no foreign wars. He says I'm not going to invade countries and everything else. And he's done the exact opposite. Now gas has skyrocketed.
Well, listen, let me just tap the brakes. Now, I wouldn't say that's the exact opposite. We haven't really invaded Iran. Now, if we put boots on the ground, that will be a more true what you're saying there.
Well,
and Don, as far as the prices going up, I think most people need to just lean on economics before they look at a person, before they look at a party. If we're not going to balance the budget, if we're not going to cut the deficit down to zero, we're going to print money and prices are going to go up. It doesn't matter what any president does. I mean, you could pump more oil out of the ground and get prices down that way. But if you're still inflating the currency, then the price of everything else is going to go up. You can't just come up with more supply So I mean, it's.
But Trump kept on saying on day one, I'm going to lower. Day one, I'm going to lower. You've seen those campaign promises.
Right.
And they've gone up. They've gone up.
Agreed.
You know, so that's the thing that's making me mad. And trust me, my wife works for an international logistics company. They're worried.
Well,
this is now getting ugly.
Yeah, well, as far as the prices going up, every president says they're going to lower prices, and every president has the same problem with inflation. In my lifetime, I really just want to stress, like, this is something that doesn't go back all the way through history. I'm just talking about in the span of me and your lifetime. Every politician says that. Every politician has prices go up. No one seems to be really concerned about balancing the budget. And until they do that, it's just all talk from anybody in any party. But you've never heard in your entire life say, I'm going to go drive up the prices of things that you need.
The only person I could think who ever said that was Mondale when he said he would raise taxes in 84, if I remember. That's the only one. But this was Trump's keystone thing was prices all the way through his campaign. I'm going to lower it. I'm going to lower it. And now he has the House, he has the Senate, and the White House. And they have all control. And it's not happening under him. That was his big campaign thing.
Right.
No invasions, no war. I'm going to solve Ukraine in a day. I mean, all that stuff.
No, these are legit right-wing complaints about Donald Trump. I hear you, Don. I'm with you on that one.
And here's another thing. Actually, I work for the state. I'm a fraud investigator. And the fraud is everywhere. You were just talking about it. I thought I'd bring that in for you.
Well, that's perfect, Don. Don, in Grand Prairie, you're a fraud investigator. Donald Trump just announced a new anti-fraud task force. And what was my first reaction? Don't we already have that? Don't we already have a mechanism by which we investigate and prosecute fraud?
Yes, we do.
So what is the current mechanism? Is that Pam Bondi's job? Is that your job?
Well,
is that
actually,
Ken Paxton's job?
It's the state and federal, depending on the crime. Put it this way: the Inspector's General Office on the fraud, just the SNAP investigations in the state of Texas, was over $38 million in one fiscal year that we proved in fraud.
Good Lord. And that's just in this state?
Just state of Texas.
Man.
Just on SNAP, not counting other stuff.
We need to sit down, have a beer, and talk for about 30 minutes, Don.
I'm game. Sure.
Right. Well, come out to the Parker's Pour on Thursday. I'll have a remote then.
Yeah. Just.
I mean, Grand Prairie, you're halfway there.
It's everywhere. It's every state. It's not just this. It happens in Texas. It's not. It's believe it or not, it's mostly the people that get benefits are the citizens, and non-citizens are a very small percentage. And you get everybody. You get big city, you get rural, you get every race, you get every creed when it comes to the fraud.
I hear you on that one. All right, Don. Man, you can hear it in his voice too. You hear how disgusted Don in Grand Prairie is? How bad would it be? Like, how much would that ruin your life if you're a government auditor? If you're supposed to find fraud and you work for the government, you're like, my entire life is hell. 800-288-9227. More on the anti-fraud task force, more on the Antifa attacks. They were found guilty last week. What does that mean going forward? We got a lot planned for you, so stick around. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. All right, let's talk about Iran, gas prices, escalation, all that good stuff. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Your home for Marthy Van Camp and Robbins, guys that have tons of stories you won't hear anywhere else. They're on from 11 to 2. Check them out on WBAP. Real quick, back to the statements. Donald Trump is still talking to reporters in the Oval Office. He announced a new anti-fraud task force. And in that, he started taking questions after his original statements. And we were just talking in the last segment about how it's disappointing to some Trump voters, how they were promised no new wars, and there seems to be new wars, and no more inflation, and there still seems to be a little bit of inflation. And it was addressed right after that. I went back to listening to some of this, and it came up about, the fact that I thought you didn't like new wars.
Look, JD's been great. But here's the simple thing, and I have, some people, I don't want wars. I want wars less than almost anybody. Peace through strength. But you know what? I've watched Iran for a long time. I've called them out 20 years ago when I was a civilian that liked watching the world. And they're violent, vicious people, the leadership, violent, vicious people. They killed 32,000 protesters over the last 3 weeks. They put out a memo 2 days ago saying, if you protest, we will shoot you and kill you in the streets. And somebody said, oh, there's not that many protests. Well, first of all, there are bombs going off all over the place. But even if there weren't, who's going to do that? Who's going to do it? They don't have any guns, and the other ones have latest in line machine gun, right? And every form of gun you can have. They shoot them right through the middle of the head. They're violent people. If they had a nuclear weapon, they would use it. And sometimes I'll have some of the people that, feel very strongly, like I do about wars. And I say, do you think Iran is violent, and do you think their people are violent? Yes, leadership. Do you think they should have a nuclear weapon, which is massive power? I don't even want to discuss how powerful, because it's depressing. And they said, no, they shouldn't have. Definitely they shouldn't have. I said, and you don't want to fight war? No, we don't want to fight war. So these are naive people that frankly are stupid. If you believe that Iran should have a nuclear weapon, there's something wrong with you, because they would use it the only question is within 1 hour if they get it, or 1 day. They will use it, and they will blow up the entire Middle East, not just Israel. They'll start with Israel, but they will blow up. And you got to see that when they unexpectedly started sending missiles to every country within 1,000 miles of them. I mean, they're blowing up countries that were neighbors, not necessarily some friends. They actually were blowing up some friends. They were blowing up the people that handle their accounts. They're sending thousands of missiles into countries that didn't expect to be in the war because they wanted to take over the Middle East. And if I didn't terminate Barack Hussein Obama's horrible Iran nuclear deal, which I did in my first term, one of the dumbest deals, perhaps the dumbest deal because of the danger involved, you would have had them have a nuclear weapon 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, and they would have used it, blown up the Middle East, and they would have then come after us.
All right, so that's his justification. Whether or not that sits with you and satisfies your criticism, that's up to you. This is David in California. You're on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, David.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I don't believe a word he says. And in fact, did I understand right with his new fraud task force? Is he naming J.D. Vance as the czar?
No, he didn't call him the czar. The question was, J.D. Vance has been called by some people in the media your anti-fraud czar. He didn't actually name him as a czar.
Oh, okay, good. Because czar means Caesar. And up in Russia, the same pronunciation of it, it would be Kaiser in Germany, and czar up in Russia. It means king. It means dictator. And the idea that America has been going through, I think it goes all the way back to Reagan, where they started calling a functionary.
Yeah, that was a Reagan thing. Yeah, that was I think they started with drug czar. Wasn't that the first one?
Could be, but the name of the game is that's a king, and America is no kings. And this idea that this guy is going to create a fraud task force when he's been committing fraud. And in fact, when you had an earlier caller just a minute ago, and he was talking about his prices had gone up, 9% on this and 15% on that. I pay attention to the economic stations, and the U.S. Dollar has fallen by 9%, which pretty well tracks to the 9 or 12% inflation rate.
Right.
And so the idea that this guy is committing fraud right in front of our faces, and then he's
Wait, how is he
fired?
committing fraud?
Well, if he worked for a fraud task force himself, right? So if he doesn't want to get caught, he fires everybody that is in an existing fraud task force,
Okay,
and
but
then hires a bunch of new skunks.
so how did Trump?
keep
What are you accusing him of committing fraud on? I'm just kind of out of time here.
Well, there are any number of different things.
Just name one.
The Epstein thing. I mean, the idea
That's fraud.
that
He
this
stole
guy
money.
was selling girls.
All right, never mind. Yeah, look, Obama had 38 czars, so you can't really be bothered by czars and make that a Trump thing. You can be bothered by czars generally, but I think you just don't like Trump. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. More on this Antifa ICE attack that was found guilty on Friday here in North Texas. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So how many terror attacks do you have to do before you're a terrorist group? That's the question on the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Oh, thank you. You're so nice. And I asked that because here in Texas, you know, we've been kind of keeping our powder dry until they had their due process here. But the 9 people that went and attacked the Alvarado ICE facility, shot a law enforcement officer in the neck. They finally had their day in court. The jury came back. They're guilty. Now let's talk about what that means. First, the report from WFAA.
A federal jury in Fort Worth convicted 9 people, prosecutors claiming they exposed a North Texas Antifa cell. Their defense attorneys say it was peaceful protest.
They went out there to do a noise demonstration, and as I stated in my closing, showcasing some of Mahdi's statements to provide a fourth outside of the facility.
Prosecutors told jurors the group arrived at the Prairieland ICE Detention Center last July 4th, dressed in black, armed with guns, fireworks, and explosives, then vandalized the center. Benjamin Song, the accused leader, fired the shot that injured an Alvarado police officer responding to the scene. Song, guilty of attempted murder of a police officer, discharging a firearm, and several other federal charges. His 8 co-defendants convicted on a range of charges, including rioting, providing material to support terrorism, and weapons and explosives offenses.
I thought she might have a chance on conspiracy. There's no way they established anything else.
The defendants' family and friends outside the courtroom every day with signs and banners.
A peaceful protest, if you consider that a riot, I don't know what the definition of a riot is anymore.
No comments from federal prosecutors after the verdict, but FBI Director Kash Patel wrote, "Acts of violence against our law enforcement partners will not be tolerated, and we continue our work to protect communities across the country from domestic terrorism." Now, Benjamin Song facing 20 to life in prison.
I know the jury did their very best.
I'm disappointed, but the jury has spoken, and we move forward.
How come we only heard from the lawyer on one side of that? How come the people were never referred to as terrorists? The word terror was used twice. One is for one of the charges, they were accused of providing material support for terrorism. And then at the end, they were quoting somebody else where they said it like right here.
Prosecutors after the verdict, but FBI Director Kash Patel wrote, "Acts of violence against our law enforcement partners will not be tolerated, and we continue our work to protect communities across the country from domestic terrorism."
So they were never called terrorists in that package there. Now, ain't that something? You can go commit a terror attack and the news still won't call you terrorist. Isn't that a trip? How many terror attacks do you have to do before you're a terrorist? I was under the impression it was 1. And the lawyer, what a real piece of work she is. It was a peaceful protest. I don't know what your definition of a riot is. Well, it's not a peaceful protest if a cop gets shot in the neck. I don't know where you draw the line, but getting shot in the neck, shooting a cop in the neck is on the other side, should be on the other side of everybody's line. I would have stopped at the fireworks being aimed at the cops. Oh, yeah, they were just going to go make some noise. And yeah, we ended up bringing some guns and shooting at cops, but that's just because what, you were provoked? No. Now, it's not just us speculating. It's not just us throwing it into the wind. Antifa is a terrorist organization. They should be treated as such. Anybody who supports them should be treated as such. Remember, we can go after the Holy Land Foundation in Garland for sending money to Hamas. Why? Well, because they are supporting a terrorist organization. Antifa has now reached that genre. They are in that category now. They should be treated as such. There was a crazy story this weekend that was being passed around social media of a lady who's a teacher in Fort Worth. And she had made some crazy social media posts, you know, about the terror attacks and her being on the side of Iran. And that kind of got people's, you know, concerns up. You go look at her bio and it says she supports Antifa. Well, guess what? Now you have a teacher in a public school in Fort Worth that supports a terror organization. We should frown upon that, just as if she was sending money to Hamas or voicing support for Hamas or Nazis for that matter. That's cool. That's fine. If you have a teacher who in her bio on TikTok says she's an Antifa supporter, you mean Antifa, this group that it's not just has been accused or charged or were claiming they're a terror organization, it's over. They are a terror organization by the definition of the word. They have made multiple terror attacks at this point. And you can't just say this was an isolated incident, because that's what they were doing about like the Tesla fire bombs. That was just one guy who was upset. No, he's part of a larger organization. And because we have established this precedent that just came down on Friday here in Texas, we should now go to the next step. Anybody that's providing material support from this point forward, I don't want to retroactively go start rounding people up, but from this point forward, now that everybody knows it's been proven definitively in a court of law that they have committed a terror attack, and it was 9 of them conspiring together, then from here forward, if you support Antifa, you are supporting terrorism. You are terror adjacent. If you are in an Antifa group, you are a terrorist. We should be using RICO laws to freeze their funding, to go round up their leaders. We should be using the stain of supporting Antifa, just like you might as well just have a swastika in your bio. You might as well have the flag for the Islamic State in your bio. Because now it's not even me speculating or saying or thinking. It's proven. Antifa is terrorism. They should be treated as such. Now, here's the South Carolina state rep saying Moms for Liberty counts as terrorism. Really?
Moms for Liberty, please. They are a terrorist group.
All right, hold on for Miss Kermer. You have a point of order, or you just?
Yes, point of order, decorum.
All right, decorum.
I guess, is that the right?
Yeah, so do you know what Moms for Liberty, you know why Team Blue calls them terrorists? They're a political organization that goes through and they try and get sexually explicit material out of your kids' schools. Oh, that's terrorism, but shooting officers is not terrorism. What does it have to take? Has Moms for Liberty shot anybody? Has Moms for Liberty committed any terror attacks? Or they've just tried to keep teachers from having secret conversations with 8-year-olds about butt stuff? That makes them terrorists? But Antifa's not? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Am I crazy, or shouldn't that count as Antifa is now a terrorist organization? It has now been proven in a court of law. They have tried to murder cops, and if they were better shots, they would have gotten away with it. Coming up next on the James Show, we're going to take a look at the logistics going on in Iran with Jeff Leonard. He's a Bronze Star winner, military vet. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey homeowners, James Parker here, and if your paint is starting to fail you, if you're starting to see the cracking, the peeling, looks terrible, doesn't it? Well, why don't you take care of that and never have to worry about it again? James Parker here. Rhino Shield can do that. It is the technology that is beyond paint. Look, paint's cool for the inside of your house, but if it's going to be outside, if it's going to be where the house expands and contracts, if it's going to face the beating sun in a Texas summer, if it's going to face the terrible weather, if it's going to face the every once in a while freezing cold, paint can't stand up to that. Rhino Shield can. It's designed specifically to breathe with your home, to expand and contract. It also blocks UV rays, so it'll keep your house cooler in the summer and save on your air conditioning bills and save on your comfort. Who cares so much about the bills? Do you want to be comfortable in your own home? Do you want to have something that's 8 to 10 times thicker than paint? Do you want to have something that has an insulating factor, a 6.9 R factor? And plus, it just looks good. And if you come back in 10 and 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, it's still going to look good. If you're worried about the cost, that's silly. Mention the James Show, you get 15% off. And if you ask real nice, they'll put it on a low monthly payment for you. Paint can't do that. So I don't know how you can afford to not get Rhino Shield. It starts by you going to the website, rhinoshielddfw.com. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, on your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. My next guest is going to help us with the military logistics of what's going on over in the Middle East right now, most specifically Iran. He's former military air traffic controller, Bronze Star winner Jeff Leonard on the James Show. Welcome, Jeff. Nice to meet you, sir. All right, before I start asking you specific questions about what's going on in the Persian Gulf, give us a little bit of your background and why should we care about your opinion on such things? You with me, Leonard? All right, is that better? All right, so Jeff Leonard, I think you're talking about the Karg Island, with the depot that 96% of Iranian exports go through. All right. All right. I wish we had a better connection, but this is Jeff Leonard. Thank you very much for your brief contribution. That's all right. It happens. It happens. Just like to talk to people who've been over there before. 800-288-9227. Coming up next on the James Show, we're going to play Dead or Alive. Now, in Dead or Alive, this is going to be a tough one here because I've got the prize, 2 tickets to Godsmack. The category is famous Iranians, famous Persians. And so you don't have to know all the famous Persians out there. You just have to be the last person on the phone when we get through the list. So if you're interested in winning 2 tickets to see Godsmack, they'll be at the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory in Irving, May 27th with Stone Temple Pilots and Dorothy. How does Stone Temple Pilots tour without Scott Weiland anymore? Well, you'll find out. Call in right now, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Maybe you can win some tickets from us, or you can go ahead and get your tickets now at livenation.com. Either way, Dead or Alive's next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Who wants to win Godsmack tickets? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So you are just in time for one of the James Show game shows. This one's called Dead or Alive. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Jovi, and welcome to Dead or Alive. I'm your host, James Parker. For today's episode, we're playing for 2 tickets to Godsmack. This is the Rise of Rock World Tour 2026. It'll be at the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory on May 27th. That's just up the road here in Irving. Special guests Stone Temple Pilots and Dorothy. Get tickets and information at livenation.com, but I got to give away a pair of tickets now. Today's category is in honor of the Iran War, famous Persians. All right, so this is going to be a tough one. The thing is you don't have to know all of them. You just have to be the last person on the phone when we get through. What is this, all dudes? Everyone on hold's a guy. I guess Godsmack is a little skews heavily in the male demographic. So we're going to start over here in Midlothian with Jeff. Hey, Jeff, you ready?
I'm ready.
How confident are you in your knowledge of famous Persians?
Not too much, but I love Godsmack and STP, so I'm going to try.
All right. I like that attitude, sir. Good. That's a good start. Okay, so we're going to start. This was a tough one. Andre Agassi, the famous tennis player, is he dead or alive?
Alive.
Did we even know that he was Persian until just now?
I did not, but I played tennis. I never knew that.
Ah, well, shame on you. Christiane Amanpour from CNN. She is half Persian herself. Is she dead or alive?
Man, I feel like she's still alive.
She is still alive.
Yes.
All right, the next guy, you're not going to know his birth name. His birth name is Hussein Khosrow Ali Vaziri. We all know him as the Iron Sheik from wrestling. Is he dead or alive, the Iron Sheik?
Oh, man, I think he might be dead.
He is dead. That was a total guess, and you got it right. The next one is Nasim Pedrad. She is from Saturday Night Live, and then she was on the sitcom New Girl. Is she dead or alive?
Alive.
All right, this next one's probably the toughest one in the list. His name is Nasir al-Din al-Tusi. He's known for mathematician, made all kinds of great discoveries. Is he dead or alive?
Dead.
Yeah, he died in 1274. Just wanted to keep you on your toes there, Jeff. All right, you only got one left because I could only find six Persians I've heard of in my entire life. Listen how excited he is over Godsmack tickets. The last guy, it's a woman, actually. Her name is Anusha Ansari. She was the first female Iranian astronaut. Is she dead or alive?
She's dead.
Damn it.
Oh, man.
You hear how excited he was? And that was the last one. Jeff in Midlothian, you did all the hard work, but I got to turn it over to the next guy in line, which is, hey, Adam in Boyd.
How you doing, man?
Your last guy, Payne, is your gain. You want these tickets?
I do.
No, you have to do absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's a freebie. It's a handout. Adam in Boyd is our big winner on Dead or Alive. He just got 2 tickets to see Godsmack. They're coming to town May 27th, the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory. It is the Rise of Rock World Tour 2026. They're coming with Stone Temple Pilots and Dorothy. Get tickets and information for the rest of us. LiveNation.com. Coming up next on the James Show, there was another bomb threat over the last 3 days at a school in North Texas. Find out whether or not there was actually a bomb there. It's coming up on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, we had another bomb threat at a school over the weekend. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Check them out from 11 to 2, Dallas's hottest news show. I give you the report, though, here locally from our news partner, WFAA.
Are expected to be back to normal this morning at Lake Highlands High School. Richardson ISD says students were taking their SATs over the weekend when they were evacuated Saturday after Dallas police received a bomb threat. The district says officers went through every room and deemed it not credible. A notice from Richardson ISD said the college board will contact impacted students directly regarding rescheduling their SATs.
Oh, you're not going to believe this. There's a bomb threat with no bomb. I am shocked. Shocked, I tell you. If you're new to the show, this is a running bit I've been doing since I don't know. When did I start doing this? I think I started this in earnest more than 10 years ago at a different station, because I remember by the time I got to Waco, it was already a thing. But in my observation, of all the school bomb threats that have happened in my entire radio career, 0 of them have produced a bomb. If you want to go through and try and find when the last time someone actually bombed a school, I believe it was 1927. And that's the only example I can find of someone bombing a school. Now, on top of that, the dude who did the bomb of the school didn't call in ahead of time and be like, I planted a bomb, I bet you can't find it, and then hung up real quick. So just think about, just go ahead and if you're driving your car, don't close your eyes. But for the rest of you, close your eyes and just go back through your memory banks. Can you remember at any time in your entire life when someone's called in a bomb threat to a school, the police showed up and they actually found a bomb? No, you haven't. So why do we still do this? On one hand, it's really funny. On the other hand, there are negative consequences. You're scaring the crud out of people. You're scaring people for absolutely no reason. What you have succeeded in doing is making people think, oh, well, we've really dodged the bullet. Because what, the real world has school bombings where people call them in advance, and then it's a race to the clock to see if you could find the bomb before it gets off? No, but people still get scared anyway. And look, I had a lot of bomb threats at my school when I was growing up, and we used to laugh at it. We used to laugh because, look, in the world of terrorism, no one's sitting in a cave in Afghanistan. No one's going to some Wahhabist school in Saudi Arabia thinking, you know how we're going to take down the great Satan? We're going to go bomb Bug Tussle High School. That'll show them. It's never happened. It doesn't make sense. If someone was going to bomb a school, would they call it in? Does any of this make sense? They're not asking for a ransom or anything. They're just, just the strangest game of hide and seek. But it does scare people. And they don't remember the details of what happened, but they will remember that they were scared. They will remember that this world is a scary place. And do you remember when we were kids? I don't know how old you are, but if you're around my age, I remember when they started putting missing children on milk cartons. Now, if you go back and look at it at the time, it seemed like something that was well intended. Hey, maybe if we put these faces out, we could help find some of these missing kids. But what happened was, after they started putting missing kids on milk cartons, then every day, everyone who got a milk carton and they had their breakfast cereal got reminded that kids get kidnapped. And so what we did is, how many kids did we actually find from the milk cartons? Is it any? It might be 0. I don't know. I hadn't looked it up. It doesn't matter. But we know that you can just know that you didn't hear a whole lot of stories about, hey, we found a missing kid. Luckily, somebody recognized him from a milk carton. You don't know any of those stories off the top of your head, do you? But here's what it did succeed in doing. Not finding missing kids, but scaring the crap out of you and your neighbors, to where now kids aren't allowed to go roam freely in the streets. They're not allowed to go to the park by themselves. They're not allowed to ride their bike away from house and not be able to be under any adult supervision. Now we have people who call the cops when they see a kid playing at a playground by themselves. Now I saw, you know what? I just saw it this weekend. I was at a volleyball tournament with one of my kiddos, and I saw kids getting fussed for being too far away from their parents in a crowd. It's not that scary. And the normal response when I bring this up is, well, James, it was different when we were kids. It was safer. We didn't have all these crazies now. Wrong. We had more crazies back then. We had more kidnappings. We had more child murders. We had a higher murder rate. Things were worse back then by a factor of at least 2. There are fewer kidnappings now. The few kidnappings that do happen, almost none of them are from the scary scenario we imagine where it's some creepy guy with a van. No, almost all the kidnappings now are some dad who doesn't have custody and he wanted to take his kids for the weekend, or some mom who lost custody because she had a meth problem. She went and took the kid from her grandma, and it's usually a family member or whatnot. But this bomb thing, it's just fear theater. It's fear porn. Ooh, you need to be scared of the outside world. The outside world is so scary. You might want to call in the government to come keep you safe. Yes, because things are scary. If you see an unattended backpack or an unattended Yeti cooler, you better call the government, because Big Brother can come keep you safe. You can't do that on your own. And it's worked. Now we have helicopter parents. We have people that are scared to open unattended backpacks. We have people that still freak out over bomb threats, even though during the history of public schools in America, or any school in America, it's never happened. Like, it's never happened. We have to stop closing schools for this. It is one of the dumbest things that we do. Besides DART, it might be the dumbest thing we do. All right, the Parker's Pours is coming back for this Thursday. Come on out. We're going to be at the Omni Fort Worth Hotel in the lobby bar. It's called Whiskey and Rye. I'm going to do a live show from 2 to 5. If you want to get there a little early, like maybe take a late lunch break, I get there around 1 o'clock, and we've got to set up, and I got to get my computer set up. We got to do a sound check, and I give myself a little cushion in case there's traffic. So if you want to come a little early and hang out, that's cool. I'll do a live show from 2 to 5. Then we do 2 rounds of trivia. One at 5:30. One at 6:30. So if you're in downtown Fort Worth, the second you get off work, come on over to the Whiskey and Rye bar at the Omni Fort Worth Hotel, and you can be there for the first round of trivia. If you want to stick around for the second round of trivia, hey, that's cool too. I'd love to have you. But for those of you coming from a little further away, the 6:30 trivia, that's all for you. I'll be giving away prizes for both. We've got gift certificates to Whiskey and Rye, and you come out, judge me based on my appearance, have a good time, and maybe have some adult beverages with your favorite talk radio host. It's at the Parker's Pours, Whiskey and Rye Bar, Omni Fort Worth Hotel, this Thursday. Come on out. And I don't just say this to be nice. I really would love to meet you. So come on out. Stick around. Coming up next, Mark Levin. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.